Starts right off the bat. Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. Can I get a 5x5? I don't have a lot of faith in this here operation. No, I'm not sure that that's rude in the slightest, actually. I'm playing with a big boy computer today, folks. I don't have the touch screen. It has gone all bad. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. On to KK. Thank you. I appreciate the 5x5. Just Joan, thank you. All right. So this is actually working. This is a brand new computer on account of the fact we managed to destroy 2 in 1 week. One courtesy of the kitty, and I'm not exactly sure what happened to the other one, but it just likes to do things of its own accord without being touched. So I did what any logical person would do, and I spiked it like a football. I can't back that up. It's sitting right next to me, but it doesn't work. So we had to get another computer. Hopefully this is going to get her done. And I am at a different location back at the old spot. Today is Halloween, and this may come as a shock to you, but they go hard to the paint. Halloween in Ecuador, they dig it. It's a thing. Johnny Scoville is out trick-or-treating with the locals. But you will get a chance to see some of the stuff that Johnny's doing, because I know that he's taking a bunch of video. Let's get into Diddy. Fact versus fiction again, folks. This is what it comes down to. The TMZ first broke this story that Diddy has already gotten a job. And you know what? They also said that he was getting out of jail in a week. Perhaps Diddy has a job already. That seems really quick to me. Normally one goes through an orientation process when they first get there, and you can do it the following morning, but to have a job as fast as he has, it seems suspect to me. But that's internet. That's not the computer's fault. A lot is being made of the fact that he's working in the laundry, which is where he got his gig. The truth of the matter is there are yards that make you get a job as soon as you get there. Most of those people take a job in the kitchen because it employs more people than anybody else at a federal prison. Second would probably be CMS, but CMS has tools and things that you can make shanks out of, and it tends to be, it's harder to get a good job in there than it is anywhere else. Laundry is also a pretty good job in a federal prison. People are saying, he's washing men's underwear and he's washing stains out, this and that. The way this works, folks, I wish it was that way because that sounds really great, but that's not what's happening. The way laundry works there, how would 1,000 people wash their laundry at the same time? You'd have to put one person's laundry in every single machine. So you would need a lot of them. If you were doing a unit, there's 100 guys, 126 guys in a unit. This makes it very difficult to pull off. So what they do is they give you a laundry bag that is mesh, and it has your name on a little tag in the bottom with your register number written on it in permanent marker. You tie that thing up as tight as you possibly can. Like, you really want to clamp it down because they're just going to throw the whole bag in the laundry. So yeah, Diddy's picking out bags of clothing that stink. He's most assuredly not hand washing stuff. He's throwing them into massive machines where you can put, 15 or 20 of those bags in at once, kick it on, then he's going to pull it out. He's going to dry it in that bag, and then they're going to deliver it back to the unit, usually in a cart. Here are the pluses and minuses. Number one, he's out of his unit, and those units are held during the day. That's a plus. The minus is he's going to meet everybody on the yard whether he wants to or not. If he's working in laundry, all of the fellas drop their stuff up there. Now, there's a lot of guys that will pay to get their stuff washed by people because they don't want to deal with everybody else's foulness coming onto your laundry. I mean, if you take something down there that's white, and they're hard to come by anyway. Some yards sell white shirts, some don't. But if you put anything white in there, it will be brown the first time you bring it back. It's not the most sanitary of laundry setups. And you also have to risk that if there's anything cool in there, the fellas might peel it, especially the lower custody levels. The higher custody levels, theft is really kind of unheard of. It's considered really foul inside, and people will hurt you badly for it. The other thing is, in my experience, it's a place where a lot of fistfights take place. It's a dangerous place to work, in all honesty. They're going to be hemming the pants of anybody that comes through there that say his waist size and his pant needs to be brought up or hemmed or let out or any of those things. So they have machines, and they also have scissors that are about that long. I've done a show on this once before, but one of the worst stabbings I ever saw in prison, there was a pair of those shears and they had broken. And they have what's called trash, which is what you throw anything in. And then there's hot trash. So cigarette butts, anything that an inmate can take and use for a different purpose goes into the hot trash. A broken pencil sharpener, because they'll take the little motor out of that to make a tattoo gun out of it. But somebody went into the hot trash and got the bottom half of the scissors. that you can put your whole hand through. And a guy in a unit I was in stabbed a dude and went straight through him and into the wall. They couldn't get it back out of the wall. It was actually it doesn't sound funny, but it was really funny at the time. But there's a lot of dangerous equipment in laundry. Hello, David. Good to see you. Hello, everybody. Sorry I didn't go through that. I didn't know how well this was going to work. I know that it's dim. We're replacing the lighting. The studio has better lighting in it than we have here. However, the noise today, we are about as protected from the noise outside as you can imagine. There's a parade going down the street. Lots of kids dressed in costumes doing the trick-or-treating thing. It's really, really huge down here. I was blown away at how big it is. But you're going to hear a lot about what he's doing there and how this is special treatment. I saw 3 or 4 videos today that said this man was able to request where he wanted to go. That's policy in the Bureau of Prisons. They didn't say, well, you're Sean Diddy Combs, so we'll let you pick what yard you want to go to. Everybody gets that opportunity. Doesn't mean that you're always going to get it. That really ends up with Grand Prairie. With somebody as unique as Sean Combs, I'm not surprised at where he ended up. I mean, it's a bummer. I would have liked to see him in a tougher yard, but the danger in this is because the low custody levels don't have a lot of regulation. The fellas aren't pushing a hard line. You can't do this to these people. Stay away from this race. The lower the custody level, the less that kind of politicking happens. And the politicking stuff and the racism stuff is disgusting. However, it is a system of some sort, and it keeps black guys from punching white guys and white guys from punching black guys. You have to go to the person that sort of runs that yard to get permission for anything that you want to do outside of your car or your race. And if the person is gang affiliated, you better go get permission for all this stuff. When you get to the lower custody levels, you can have different races fighting over just about anything. And honestly, I don't buy anything that TMZ says these days. I don't know if you agree with me on this. TMZ said he was getting out, right? That the White House said that probably out by Friday. They seem to be leaking info that is that makes Diddy's life look like he's really having a bad time. And this works perfectly as you're putting in appeals, right? And one of the guys that works on TMZ is an attorney for Diddy. I don't know how that's not some kind of a conflict of interest, but they would very much like to turn the United States into a more forgiving country when it comes to Sean Combs, because their only hope at this point, I promise you, is going to be that they get this cat a commutation of his sentence, they commute his sentence, or they send him to some kind of house arrest. If you look at the federal sentencing guideline sheets, right, this is what the judge has to follow when he does the sentencing. Doesn't have to. They're guidelines. They used to have to follow those to the letter of the law. And then a case called Booker overturned that. The Booker case said that you can take things into account, and if a judge wants to go above or below the guidelines, he has the ability to do that. That's why they're called guidelines. But if you look at it, you see a little table that moves down a little bit as it goes, and it only goes to about 7 on the severity level. Those are the people that are eligible for home confinement. Diddy is not. I've seen a lot of videos today that said the guy's in a camp. There is a camp there. So if you look it up in the BOP system, you can see camp, Federal Prison Camp Fort Dix. You can also see Federal Correction Institute, Fort Dix. It happens to be dorm living. In Arizona, there are 2 prisons right next to one another. One is called Black Canyon. That's a federal correction institution in Black Canyon, just outside of Phoenix. The other one is in Safford. It's not very far away. The only difference between the two, and I mean the only difference, is that there's dorm living in one and there are cells in the other. They don't necessarily build as many dorm stuff as they used to. Squirrel nut zipper. They don't build as many dorms as they used to. What normally happens is a Navy base or an Air Force base or something like that gets converted, and that's what happened at Fort Dix. So this is very much how the fellows would have lived back when this thing was still a military installation. The only difference is these guys were all criminals, right? But he's not in a camp, and people are going to keep repeating that, and they're going to say he got off so light, he's at a camp, and all of these things that, honestly, just aren't true. Or the ability for him to pick what yard he goes to. Every time it's on the form. What prison would you like to be sent to? Because in theory, the closer that they can keep you to your family, and this plays out in statistics. If you're getting visits from family members, you're less likely to screw up with a write-up, or what they call in the feds a shot, that's going to make it so that you do not have an opportunity you don't get an opportunity to deal with any of this stuff, right? It's a completely different setup. You're not going to want to catch a 100 series shot and not see your family. It's just not something that most people want to do. So in theory, they want to keep you within 500 miles of where you live. That got so abused for so long, people just got shipped all over the country, and a bunch of people filed paperwork on it. Their settlement was they will get you within 500 miles of where you were convicted for the last 6 months. That way you can make calls and do whatever you have to do to try to organize going to the street. When it comes down to it, that's all BS as well. My conviction was in Nevada, and they said there's only one halfway house for the feds in Nevada at that time, and it was in Las Vegas. It was shorter for them to send me to Oakland, California. That would be closer to my house than going all the way down. So instead of being in the state I was in, this was even for halfway house. And I didn't know what halfway house I was going to until the day I walked out of the prison, which is pretty brutal if you think about it. You know what I mean? You're not prepared for anything. I went to Oakland basically just after the riots, just after they were burned in Oakland. And everybody, the people on the plane were like, oh man, you're in bad shape. And the people on the plane, of course, were sitting one to a row. So you're sort of talking through a mask. But everybody was great there. Black, white, everybody got along at that halfway house. Everyone was so happy to be out. All that politic crap got left behind. But the misinformation on this is just going to keep ramping up. And people are going to run with stuff because it's sensational. Like he's washing dudes' underwear. He's throwing bags into a washing machine. He's not pulling underwear out. He's not cleaning anything like that. And as far as this being one of the nastier jobs in there, simply put, it's not. There are a lot of people that fight for those jobs, for real. Now, he's not going to be – there are 3 or 4 people in laundry that do things, and then the rest of them just sort of are gophers. They run around or they sit around all day long. But it's going to take a long time for him to work up through the ranks, so to speak. Right now, he's probably making about 23 to 26 cents an hour. So big pimping for a guy that was a billionaire a while ago. I would imagine that he's going to have a hard time with this. He also didn't have anybody put him up on game. Like, I'm not trying to be, but it says a lot about how people are treating him. Because if you get to a yard and you don't like the job you have, you just don't take it. In most facilities, that's not going to land you in the hole. They're going to give you 7 days to find a different job. If this was something that he found super degrading and he understood the system, he would just go to his caseworker and yeah, I can't do this job. It's too hard. There are people in there I don't get along with. This is a bad situation. One of the easiest jobs to get is in the unit. You can mop things up. You can be the person that every new person that comes in, you show them how to use the TrueLink system on the computer. Diddy's coming from a place that had all of that there. He's been sending emails. He's been doing all that through the federal system because even though MDC Brooklyn is not technically a prison, it's set up the exact same way as the federal prisons are. So he's been using all of those devices. But if you're on a yard where people are coming from all over the world, or all over the U.S. for sure, you have to have somebody there that shows everybody how to do everything. Because if you walk through the door, you don't know how to use a pack number. You don't know any of those things. And in theory, your people, the people from your car, should do that kind of stuff, but they don't. So they usually hire one guy that just works the computer and helps people set up email and do things like that. They're cush jobs. The trains that bring people in come in twice a month. I mean, if they're cooking, they might come in once a week, but that's rare. Can you hear that? That is 250 feet below us, and they are rocking down on the Malecon. I'll tell you what, the boardwalk is jumping the night. But please take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. And if you think, I don't know, these people seem fairly legit, they probably are. But it's so easy to get hyped up in what would be a great thumbnail and story, and you don't think you're passing on bad information because you hear things at TMZ or you hear things from institutions that are pretty reliable. Here's a good question. You're saying they assign jobs on delivery on arrival? Yeah, James, on a lot of institutions, that's exactly how it works. But more often than not, almost everybody gets kicked to the kitchen. The amazing amount of overturn in there where people come in and get fired or people go in and quit. In the kitchen, it's constant. I worked in a kitchen, and I was the guy that handled payroll. And the people that started at the beginning of the month, hardly any of them were still there at the end of the month, except the guys that were cooking, the guys that did the vegetable prep. Although if you work vegetable prep, you're trying to steal as many vegetables as you can to get out every day. That's what they all do, and then they sell them in their unit. So because everybody's always taking risks, people are stealing sugar to try to make booze. There's a lot of theft that comes out of the kitchen. So they fire a lot of people. But that's usually where most people end up first. How bad is federal prison? Honestly, I don't think it's a whole lot worse or better than any other prison. And by that, I mean, you could be in California prisons where these guys are in really, really low custody and get away and do whatever they want. And then there are guys who are in places like Pelican Bay, right? So there's a wide gamut. There's over 120 federal prisons. So there are people that are doing white collar crime time, and that's what you hear people call club fed. And they actually can have 3-hole golf courses, a couple of tennis courts. Make no mistake, even if that's where you're at, right? The kitchen is not any fun at all, says Chef Bobby. I'm telling you, inside it is a rugged job. If you're actually cooking, the floors are always disgustingly grimy, and people fall down constantly. You have to wear boots. You got to wear long pants. There are jobs that you can wear shorts to. It makes life a little bit easier. But I would think the kitchen would be a good job. It's a great place to steal from, but it's not a fun job. It simply isn't. But so yeah, if you're at the higher custody levels, if you're at Atwater, or you're at Victorville, or you're Atlanta, or any of these places that have high custody levels, you know what I mean? Like in state, they call them level 4 yards. In the Bureau of Prison, it goes camp, right? And then you go to FCI, and FCIs can be low, medium, or high, so that you can sort of move up within the FCIs before you get bounced to USP. And the United States penitentiaries, there's a lot of gang activity. There's a lot of drugs being sold. There's a lot of people getting stabbed. People die there. There's horrible deaths there, for real. And then you have, within that, you have like management units for people that can't even seem to get by in the high custody levels. If you keep screwing up, they will send you to what's called the SMU. That is the special management unit. And that's 23-1. You're locked in a cell 23 hours a day. You only get out 1 hour a day to go to rec time. And that's really hard time. That's tough to do. There's a lot of violence there too. It is how you can get extra food, to be sure. And if you work your way up to where you're cooking and you have a shot at a grill, now you start making things and taking things home that are already cooked, and those guys make a lot of money. Do you ever see any inmates in the GED classes? Oh, no, there's a lot of people that take GED classes. Yeah, that's one of the things in the feds that they will actually hook you up for doing. It's also something they will punish you. If you go in and you don't have your GED and you don't have, or a high school diploma, then you can be penalized. There are programs you can't go to. There are jobs you can't have. And they will pressure you big time to get that GED, and a lot of people do. They also pay guys to take the GED for them. There's a lot of hustle that goes on in there. But yeah, no, there's a bunch of people are in that. That's a really big deal in there, believe it or not. A lot of people do that. It's people absolutely help them. Inmates, yeah, there are groups of guys in there. If you take I've said this before, if you take the average prison, 100% of them aren't jugheads. There are people that went in there, got their sentence, and went, you know what, I really need to get my life in order. And those people start trying to take responsibility. And they volunteer to help people in GED stuff. Anybody that wants tutoring at any yard I've ever been at, even the USPs, there's always people there ready to tutor them. And you just go down to the law library or education, and there are people in there waiting for folks to come down. So way better way to spend your time if you're not trying to get stabbed or, shipped out or get in a fight or get write-ups. There's a lot of people that go that way. Absolutely. Your cousin got a degree through prison. I did too. It's, I don't know how incredibly proud I am about that. It's not, I was trying to get a master's, but if you get a degree in prison, it's not like you get the state. They will say you do. You get the diploma, you get all that, but it's just different. And honestly, it should be, because it's not nearly as hard. You'd be really surprised how easily you can work through that. I know teachers who retired from teaching public schools and went to teach GED classes in prisons and found the working conditions to be much better. That's actually hysterically funny and kind of sad. But the guys who are going to education to get educations, all of those people are sort of not in the game. The guys that you got to worry about are the people that don't go to work. Like they'll go to the kitchen and go, yeah, I'm not doing this. Screw you. Write me up for whatever, for not working. And they wait until they can get a job that they don't have to show up for. And there are a lot of jobs like that in prison. Especially if there's a cop that's cool, they'll say to you, I'm going to need you there next Tuesday, right? They're doing counts or whatever. And it's definitely a situation that, there's a group of people that are honestly trying to get their life together. It's not the largest group, But the lower the custody level, probably the more people are trying. What's sad is it only takes 3 or 4 guys to turn a unit into a bunch of idiots. You can get your paralegal through Blackstone. This is just an opinion, but I'm afraid that paralegals are one of the jobs that are going to be in very serious trouble because of AI. So once again, if you're just getting here, here's what it comes down to. It's a really good point. That's what I said. The laundry room workers is where it all goes down. 13 years straight, been out 20. Congratulations, man. Out 20. You bucked the system, man. You bucked the system. The recidivism rates are through the roof. That's awesome, man. It really is. And there's a lot of dirt that goes down in the laundry room, for real. And there's a lot of fights that go down in the laundry room. It's a very easy way to pass things. If you're trying to get something from one unit to another, you got a guy in the laundry room, he'll take whatever you're wanting to pass it on to the next guy. It is. So when people say, you got the worst job in the prison, I promise you that's not even close to the worst job in the prison. That's a job that at a lot of yards people fight for real. And you would go, what's got to be the worst? Being a plumber. Honestly, plumbers can move around when the entire prison is locked down. I mean, for real, if a toilet plugs, they're going to bring the plumber in to try to fix it. It's usually an inmate, and it's a way that during lockdowns they would get dope from one place to another. You would just take the hood of a sweatshirt, right? Get a couple of socks, do whatever, and jam up your toilet and start, complaining. And they will usually send the plumber in. So a lot of times those guys run stuff from one unit to another. You'd be really shocked how some of the jobs that you would think really suck in prison are actually really great jobs to have. And it is, it's a job that you can actually make money on. If he sticks in there, not that it's going to make a hell of a lot of difference to him. Yeah, man, I bucked it. I have an old lady and a daughter now. Life is great. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. Right? I love the redemption arc. I swear to God I do. It's probably the reason I don't do more prison content, because I'm not trying to celebrate everything that goes on in prison. But when it comes to stuff like Diddy, a lot of the stuff you're going to hear just isn't going to be true. Like the judge, if you're just getting here, a lot of people are saying he got to choose wherever he went. It's on the form. What prison do you want to go to? Is there a prison you want to go to because you'll be closer to family? In theory, that's good for everybody if they can keep you closer to your family. It actually makes a heck of a lot of sense. But doesn't mean you're going to get it. So he didn't get to pick that just because. And one of the reasons that they put him in Fort Dix more than any other is he's got so many cases in the Southern District of New York that they're going to be shuffling him in and out of, right? They're going to have to bring him into the courts and out of them. I'm surprised. I mean, they should try to work something where he can do it over a computer. They may not let that in the Southern District of New York. I've seen it done before in the feds. One of the, we'll just demonetize this puppy at 23 minutes, but one of the terrorists that first bombed the World Trade Centers, not the guys that flew into them, but the people that bombed them. One of them was in a prison I was at. I was working in the kitchen, and he was doing his entire trial that way. But they were in a unique situation. They had problems before with those people, so they were not wanting to transport them. It saves them in money, time, absolutely. And as much as they don't care about cash, because they don't, it costs an absolute fortune to put someone on Con Air, but they will ship you at the drop of a hat. People go, if he gets in trouble, you get in trouble at a low custody level, it doesn't take a lot of trouble to get shipped. Those places don't want idiots on the yard, right? The guys that run it, they don't want it to see it turn into an FCI high. They don't want it to be a Victorville or something where they're going to be policing people on a regular basis. But nevertheless, they're going to give him drug screens. The fact that he was recommended for RDAP, that was recommended out of his PSI, his pre-sentence report, pre-sentence investigation. So it's obvious that they talked a lot about his drug use in there. They're going to talk about opiates. If they talk about opiates, you're going to end up on the hot sheets. And that means at least once a month, you're going to have to take a drug test. If Diddy's doing anything wrong, he's going to get caught. I promise you, for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is his first go around. And the way you figure out how things go in prison is you get caught doing them the wrong way. Guys can tell you about it all day long, but you're not going to listen, right? You're not. And most of the stuff that they talk to you about, and I'm not trying to make it sound cool, but my friend who's bucked the system would agree with me. You watch a fish come in, you watch somebody come in that's never done any time, and you look at them and go, oh, this dude's just a bust. Everything they do, they're looking around. It's you kind of got to look like you're really, really relaxed when you're not, especially if you're breaking the rules. And I just don't see I don't see Diddy turning into a convict quickly. I don't see this dude bucking up and becoming a convict. And they keep putting him into situations, in my opinion, putting this guy in a dorm isn't safer than putting him in a cell. I just don't believe that. I've seen a lot of both, and dorms are just a zoo. And throw the dude into laundry. I mean, depending on how big the yard is, there could be 8 to 10 laundry workers in there. Trying to get along with 8 to 10 convicts in a small, closed-in area, you got to be a diplomat. And he's not walking in there like every other convict, who they're going to push and see what they can get away with anyway. He's not walking in there like that. He's walking in there just dead-ass famous for now all the wrong reasons. Take the 10 of them. There might be one of them who goes, damn, dude, it's Diddy, wants to talk to him. And there's going to be at least 3 or 4 in there that go, yeah, this dude's a sicko, right? I read all of this stuff in the papers, 8-year-olds, 15-year-olds. None of it's been proven, but that's the story of the times we live in. If they print the article, you're not going to see the retraction. And there's a lot of people out there right now that are going to believe this dude is a kid toucher. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying he hasn't been convicted of any of that yet. And I think we heard about a lot of lawsuits. There are 77 moving forward. They're not all Busby's. So a lot of what we heard was BS. That's just kind of the way it goes. Yeah, I tend to agree with this. And I hear people say all the time, they'll say, he's just going to hire bodyguards in there like he did on the street. You're not going to walk around with 4 big dudes following you everywhere you go without SIS swooping down on you and going, what the hell is this? In fact, I've been at yards where if more than 4 white guys go out to work out together, they come out. Can't do that. There are yards they don't care too. But the lower the custody levels, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this cat. But I used to put a lot of faith in TMZ. But when one of Diddy's lawyers has a show on TMZ, anything they say, I feel like they're just trying to make Diddy, the poor Diddy train, right? Somebody had a knife to his throat. All of these things that keep getting leaked out, and the guy snuck into his cell to do it. Cindy says Diddy didn't get a job. Okay, like I said, it seemed way too fast to me. And if you could prove that, fantastic. This is a story people are running with, but I said from Jump Street, I don't know that I buy this. Normally, when you get to a federal prison, the first thing that happens is you have to go through an orientation process, right? What I'm talking about is if he has a job in the laundry, this is what it is. But for me, normally it's about a 6-day process, 7-day process. However, you can come in and have the next day be your orientation. You can walk out of that orientation and have a job by 11. That can happen. It's not an unusual thing. Inmates don't care. Plus, he's behind a ton of murders. Yeah, there's also a badge, right? There's also a badge for punching a guy like him in the face. There just is. I mean, if you're somebody that's planning on spending your entire life in prison, this is a really great resume builder. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just the truth. You're going to get clout for this. You're going to have a lot more people that go, hell yeah, you hit Diddy, than are going to go, why'd you do that? Diddy has an inflated sense of entitlement. I think prison is either going to, I mean, it might while he's in there, but he'll come out and we'll get stories out of there like, he'll come out and talk about all of the dirt he did in there. And then as the guys come out, they'll tell you, stuff you can get away with because you have, $400 million. This is a guy that went from being an emperor. He couldn't get in trouble, right? Allegedly, he went in and started firing a pistol off in a nightclub, right? And then got someone else to do his time for him. This is a guy that, if you talk about entitlement, he's a guy that lived like an emperor, 55 years. Whatever drugs he wanted, whatever girls he wanted, if you couldn't talk him into it, he would just drug them. Allegedly, this, right? And hang out with actresses and famous people. Doesn't really matter one way or another, does it? Either way, going from that to prison is going to be a very different. Now, I'm going to get down there and dance in the crowd. Do me a favor, man. Yes, I know I do, Cindy. Do me a favor. If you guys aren't doing anything,